This procedure demonstrates the internal components of the Autotrol Performa valve. This is the teardown procedure for the Autotrol Performa valve. On this side, we have our 400 series controller. On the other side, we have our Logic series controllers. As we rotate these to the side, you can see that from the top plate down, the valves are built identical. For this presentation, we will focus on the Logic series valve. We then move to the side of the valve where our refill flow control and injector are located. We remove the cap for the refill flow control using a Torx T50 tool. Once we have this removed, we can see the small opening for the water to flow through. The water flows against a check ball that is located inside the body. Only the opening that is in the flow control is how much water flows out to your brine tank. Depending on the vintage and model of your valve, you may have some that have a washer inside them. This style should not have a ball with it, so if you have this style, make sure it is either removed or not reassembled in there. We can then move to our injector assembly. We remove the cap and gain access to the inside where the injector is. We pull the injector straight forward from the assembly. If we need to replace the injector, we need to make sure that we match up the color, as there are many colors specific to tank size and pressure. We can then move to the other side of the valve. Here we have our screen assembly and backwash flow control. The screen assembly we pull out, and this is directly opposite our injector assembly. So the water flows through our screen before it goes to the injector. In the rear of the unit is our backwash flow control. This particular flow control has a 12 on it, so it is designed for a 12-inch softener application. On the flow control side, you can see we have the openings similar to our refill flow control. Inside the body, we also have a check ball. This seats up here and allows water to flow out at each of the openings. Larger tank sizes will have the washer style flow control. Again, make sure if you have the washer style to not use a check ball. If you have the opening side, you need to make sure you do use a check ball. We can then move to removing our controller. This model uses the lighter gray 742 or 762 series. The darker control is the 740-760 series. The tab is located on the top. We press down and pull forward in order to remove the controller. This gives us access to our cables. The cables have a press pin in order to lock it on. We press down and pull away from the control. The top cable is for our motor and optical sensor. If you have a 760 or 762 model, you will also have a meter cable. Press down on the pin and pull it away from the unit. We can then move to the rear of the unit where our motor assembly is. Press the white pin forward if yours still has it installed. We then rotate the motor, clearing it from the body, and pull to the back of the unit. While in the back of the unit, if you have a metered unit, your cable is here. You can pull up and pull it away from the body. The meter can just be pulled straight forward from the body. As we move back to the top of the unit, we can remove our cables from the top plate in order to give us better access. The next item that needs to be removed is our cam assembly. We pull the cam to the rear of the unit, and while trying to clear the optical sensor, we lift up slightly and allow it to clear. We then remove it from the unit. On the front of the unit, you can see the tabs that hold the cable in to the front of the body. We press those loose and can now remove the optical sensor. This frees the motor and optical sensor assembly. We can also now remove our meter cable if it was so assembled. The top plate uses a one-piece spring assembly. We pull up and outward in order to remove it as one piece. This gives us access to all of the screws that hold the top plate down, sealing in our valve discs. Once we remove all the screws, we can pull the top plate loose. This gives us access to where each of the individual valve discs are. When we pull the valve disc out, we can check the sealing area to make sure there is no cuts or damage to it. We also can check to the top to make sure that it is not cut from the body. If any of these are damaged, we recommend replacing them as an assembly. When reinstalling the valve disc, we want to inspect the body to make sure there is no debris inside. We can then press the valve disc back in. No lubricant is required for these valve discs, but we do want to make sure that we tuck in all of the edges to make sure that they do not have damage when we reassemble our top plate. These single flapper units, it does not matter which side goes in which way. Once we have all of the valve discs in, we can reassemble our top plate. We want to make sure that we add the screws and tension them from the center outward, working diagonally. Please reference your owner's manual for this procedure. Once we have all of the screws down, we can then reassemble our one-piece spring. The key to reassembly is pulling backwards and tucking the spring underneath each of the keepers. Once we have the spring pulled back, we can then press down on the individual valve disc springs in order to get them engaged. We can use a slotted screwdriver in order to help make sure that we do not cut ourselves on the sharp stainless steel spring and engage safely. Once it is engaged, you will hear it pop. Once we have that assembled, we can move to our motor and optical sensor assembly. We reinstall that in the front of the unit and then can retuck our cables in. We then move to reinstall our cam assembly. On the front of the cam, there will be an arrow. We need to line this arrow up with the arrow that is on the top of the front. We press the cam in through the rear, all the way back so that the gear meets the back plate. We then press down and over until we clear our optical sensor. We can then move the assembly forward until it engages. After this, the rest of the assembly is the same as removal. On the 400 series controllers, we have our adjustable refill and our injector position. As we unthread our refill control, we can see that there are numbers that are on the face. These numbers indicate how many pounds of salt will be used for each regeneration. We do not recommend making any adjustments to this without contacting your dealer. On the back side, there are adjustable openings. These openings go against the check ball that is located inside the body. Depending on the width of the opening will determine how much water is flowed out to the brine tank. This ball should be pliable and not have any scoring on it. It would need to be replaced if any damage is shown. The next item is the injector. We use our Torx T50 tool to remove the cap. Inside, we'll find the injector. We pull the injector straight away from the body. 400 series controllers use primary color injectors such as red or blue. Logix units use pastel colors. Make sure that when you're replacing an injector due to a clog or damage, to use the same injector that matches your tank size and pressure of operation. As we move to the other side of the valve, we can see that the location for the screen at the front and backwash flow control are in the same location as they are for Logic Series valves. We can now move to the removal of the cam and timer assembly. To remove the cam, we move to the rear and lift the latch to the top. The cam can then move to the rear to be removed. We want to make note of the offset of the rectangle to the center pin, so that when we reassemble on the timer, we make sure that the offset is located more towards the arrow on the timer. To remove the timer, we move to the front of the valve. The pin is located at the bottom, and we rotate it down and pull it forward. Once this is removed, we can hold on to the timer and pull straight up in order to remove it from the top plate. Once this is removed, the rest of the removal is the same as the Logic Series. Good luck, and thanks for watching.